Welcome, and thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy this video, we invite those of you who haven't yet done so, to like, comment, share, subscribe, and click the notification icon, to be notified when the next one is uploaded. We'd like to urge those of you who haven't yet done so, to sign our online petition for an inquiry into the BBC and Channel 4's coverage of Lewis Hamilton and Abu Dhabi. A link has been provided in the description. If you are on X, then please repost our tweet. Thank you. Just to round up on something from our previous video on the BBC attacking Lewis Hamilton, and how they had nothing in there more on this story segment at the bottom of the page linking to any story related to him at Ferrari, possibly because they did not have enough substantive articles to link to, because they had been doing their best to refrain from joining the mania to report on him out of spite. Well, lo and behold, they were rather quick to highlight the fact that he came 12th in free practice 1, as their preferred Brit Lando Norris topped the table. Now, why did the BBC not lead with a caption like, "Norris fastest as Hamilton 12th in Melbourne practice," accompanied with an image of Lando's McLaren? Could it be that they were gloating? But look, now the more on this story segment at the bottom of the page has a link to a story about Hamilton at Ferrari. Wonder why? All we have to do now is wait for the attack piece from a third party, representing him as treacherous for reaching out to Ferrari while at Mercedes, that cites Benson's article as their source. If you come across such, please let us know. Thanks. Okay, back to Benson's frenemy Martin Brundle. It is customary for people to pick their title favorite at the start of the season, and Martin has controversially nailed his colors firmly to a mast. Andrew, in his typical sneaky style, has declined to name one openly, but we can tell from the slime oozing out of his writing that his for anybody but Lewis Hamilton. The bookies have made Lando favorite, and we just can't understand why. It would appear from your comments that most of you share the same sentiment, so we thought we'd do a video to review our opinion of Lando just to check that we are not engaging in confirmation bias. We have done several videos on how bad he was last season, and we cannot understand how his record-breaking loss has been gaslighted by the bookies. In the 12 times out of the 75-year history of F1 that the driver of the winning car has not won the title, Lando is the one to have lost by the widest margin ever. Not only did he lose by the widest margin, but he also lost with 2 races to go. As far as we are aware, going back to at least 1999, the title decider always went down to the checkered flag at the season finale. To top it all off, Lando also holds the record for losing pole positions on the first lap. This clearly suggests that he lacks the mettle to be a champion. Every time he gets the opportunity to, he confirms this assessment. When Sir Lewis was robbed 4 seasons ago, he was quick to congratulate his best mate Max, as he led the McLaren campaign to gaslight the theft. However, when his best mate attempted to take him out in Austria, as he briefly became his title rival earlier last season, he and McLaren had the temerity to complain that it was the FIA's failure to fully hold Max to account against Sir Lewis back in 2021, that led to his appointment with karma. But to top it all, Lando whined to the media about how he would lose respect for Max if he did not apologize. First of all, that is classic simp behavior, because he was offering his attacker the opportunity to claim that the deliberate act was accidental. True to form, not only did Max not apologize, but he and his army went on the offensive, and guess what? Lando folded like a Belgian waffle drizzling with maple syrup, and walked back his righteous indignation, so he could remain friends with his abuser. Astonishingly, when it was being suggested during the build-up to this season that the McLaren was significantly faster than the competition, Lando doubled down on his simping by claiming that he would need to ensure that he was far ahead of Max, to prevent any opportunity of him being taken out. Compare that to Charles, who after been robbed of victory in Austria in 2019, when corrupt Marcy allowed Max to get away with barging him off the track under the guise of let them race. Charles responded by saying, "If that's the way they want us to go racing, so be it," and subsequently took Max to school in the following race at Silverstone, where Marcy again had to come to his protégé's rescue by allowing him to exceed track limits to overtake the Monegasque. Or, with Sir Lewis multiple times including at Silverstone 2021, when Max came off worse when he butted heads with the GOAT. Lando, either subconsciously or lacking self-awareness, repeatedly sends out the message that he doesn't have what it takes to fight for a championship, so why have the bookies made him favourite? Are they claiming that the McLaren is so far ahead that it can scamper away without Lando having to engage in any close quarters racing, or that it can compensate for Lando's poor race starts? How can the bookies that put Ferrari and McLaren neck and neck, with McLaren just edging it slightly, give Lando a wider margin over the competition? Well, it would appear that Martin does not agree with the bookies, as he snubbed Lando to choose Max, even though Red Bull is a distant third favourite constructor. Ironically, in his explanation for overlooking the driver he had placed on the ladder of greatness last season, he exposed all the flaws that he and the Liberty Media-compliant F1 media had been gaslighting, to sell the false narrative that Max and Lando had been in a title fight. He alluded to Lando's first lap issues by suggesting that he had overcome them. But in typical Brundle style, he based his fallacy on 2 races in the second half of a 24-race season, when Max had all but sealed the title by the first third. So, really the pressure was off, until Charles started closing him down for second place in the final third. This so-called title favourite, who admitted in pre-season that he had struggled with confidence in the past, but had built it up during the previous season, when he set several worst-ever records for losing. This man who said he was now confident that he could bring the fight to anyone, while recognizing that he needed to get far ahead of Max, to avoid fighting with him on track. This man who claimed towards the end of last season that he hadn't been ready to fight Max for the title at the beginning of the season, because they started off as third or fourth best team. Well, it's bad enough for him to admit such defeatism in the first place, but that admission is at odds with the post-qualifying interview he gave at the season opener in Bahrain, when he had claimed to have been disappointed to start from P7, after a mistake in Q3 had cost him a slot on the first row. So, please let us know in the comments how a driver who claimed his car had the pace to match Red Bull at the start of the season can then turn around and claim that he wasn't ready to fight because Michael Bolton hadn't sung him a lullaby. This is the type of rubbish that the LHDS-afflicted media throw up when they are desperate to gas up anyone they can find in a desperate effort to undermine Sir Lewis's legacy. To coin a phrase from @JaneJones6630, Martin is saying that Lando is a eunuch without saying that he is a Doris. I'm so sorry, I just couldn't resist that one. But what about choosing Max over the 2 Ferrari drivers whose car is rated above the Red Bull? As Martin is getting to grips with the imminent demise of Max's unlawful tenure, one should appreciate that denial is the first reaction when grieving, and not a river in Leatherhead. But what about the bookies? What agenda can they possibly have? Well, do you know of any bookie that sued Liberty Media for what happened in Abu Dhabi, or reported the fraud to the relevant criminal investigation agency? Well, that's the extent of the influence of the world's most valuable sports empire that is also a significant player in the media world. Why will the bookies not go along with presenting Lando and Max as favourites to fit a narrative dictated by John Malone? But as we can all see from the second free practice session at Melbourne, their days are numbered. Forza Ferrari.